What if the supplement you've been taking isn't doing what you think it is? For millions over 50, Gluco6 promised stability, energy, and control. But behind the glowing reviews and natural claims, there's a side of the story no one's talking about until now. Number 1. The promise that hooked millions. It always starts the same way. You're sitting at the kitchen table, maybe sipping your morning coffee, when the ad pops up. A clean-cut doctor, a smiling senior couple, and bold promises. Regulate your blood sugar naturally, without dangerous medications. For those over 50, it's not just tempting, it's hope in a bottle. Gluco6 knows exactly who it's talking to. People who've spent years juggling diets, prescriptions, side effects, and fatigue. The promise? Natural ingredients. No chemicals. Just clean, ancient remedies backed by modern science. You're told it supports insulin sensitivity, curbs sugar spikes, and gives you back your energy, all without a single side effect. And when you're tired of needles and numbers, those words sound like salvation. You scroll down the website. Photos of everyday people. People who look just like you. Claim their sugar numbers dropped, their energy returned, and their lives changed. Some even say they were able to cut down on medication after taking Gluco6. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Testimonials don't equal evidence. They're stories, not science. And stories, as powerful as they are, can be used to sell hope, even when the facts aren't fully there. You see, the supplement industry isn't regulated like prescription drugs. That means Gluco6, and any company like it, can say a lot without proving much. They don't have to show you what happens long-term. They're not required to release third-party lab results. They can cherry-pick studies and highlight exotic ingredients that sound impressive, even if they're underdosed or poorly absorbed by the body. The emotional pull is real, and it's understandable. Who wouldn't want an easier answer? But before you buy into the promise, there's something you should know, because behind the scenes, what's actually inside that little capsule may not match the magic you were sold. And what's buried in the ingredient list, that's where the real story begins. Number 2. What's actually inside the bottle? If the promise of Gluco6 is the bait, the ingredients are supposed to be the hook. The label reads like a greatest hits list of natural remedies. Berberine, cinnamon bark, chromium, alpha-lipoic acid, and a sprinkle of bitter melon. At first glance, it sounds impressive, scientific, safe. But the devil is in the dosage. Take berberine, for example. It's often hailed as the natural metformin, praised for its ability to support healthy blood sugar levels. And that's true, at least in clinical trials where the dosage hovers around 1,500 milligrams a day. But Gluco6? It includes just a fraction of that. It's enough to put it on the label, but not enough to create a consistent impact. Then there's cinnamon bark, a warm, familiar spice we all know, now marketed as a blood sugar miracle. But again, the story shifts when you dig deeper. Studies show that for cinnamon to be effective, it has to be taken in large, regulated doses, and consistently. Gluco6 offers no clarity on the standardization of its extract, or whether it even meets the minimum effective threshold. Chromium is another one. It's a trace mineral found naturally in our diet, and yes, it does help regulate insulin function. But unless someone is deficient, which is rare, it's unlikely to make a dramatic difference. The inclusion feels more like a checkbox than a breakthrough. Now here's what they don't emphasize: no third-party testing. That means you're relying entirely on the company's word that each capsule contains what they claim. And even if it does, without transparent lab reports, you have no way of knowing how potent, pure, or bioavailable those ingredients actually are. This isn't to say Gluco6 is dangerous, but it might be more window dressing than wonder drug. It creates the illusion of effectiveness, using just enough science to sound credible, but not enough to guarantee results. And for people over 50 managing chronic conditions, time is too precious to waste on something that only sounds right. Because next up is the ingredient they downplay. And that's where things get even more revealing. Number 3, the ingredient they downplay, but shouldn't. Bitter melon. You've probably never seen it in your local grocery store unless you shop international markets. It's a spiky green fruit, often used in traditional Asian and African remedies for blood sugar support. And in the world of natural supplements, it's got star power, at least on paper. That's why Gluco6 includes it. But here's the twist: they barely talk about how much they actually use. This is where marketing becomes murky. Bitter melon is one of those ingredients that's been studied for its ability to help regulate blood sugar. But in those studies, the participants weren't taking a tiny sprinkle. They were consuming concentrated doses over weeks, sometimes months. In many cases, these doses were 500 milligrams or more per day, often in highly refined forms. But in Gluco6, the exact amount is either extremely low or buried under a proprietary blend label. A proprietary blend, by the way, is a legal loophole that lets companies hide individual ingredient amounts under one umbrella. So you know what's in there, you just don't know how much of each thing. It's like ordering a stew and knowing it has beef, potatoes, and carrots, but not knowing if there's 1 cube of meat or a whole steak inside. This lack of transparency is especially concerning for something like bitter melon, which can actually interact with certain medications if taken in higher doses. So not only might it be ineffective in such small amounts, it also carries risks when you're unsure of the quantity. And Gluco6? They don't make that clear. For older adults who are often on multiple prescriptions, this matters a lot. You're not just dealing with supplements, you're managing an entire health ecosystem. So while Gluco6 uses bitter melon to boost its credibility, it's possible the real reason they don't spotlight it is because the dosage doesn't live up to the hype. But what happens when something even more important gets left out altogether? That's where the silence becomes deafening, and that's where we're headed next. Number 4, the key ingredient that's missing entirely. Sometimes, it's not what's in the bottle that raises eyebrows, it's what's missing. And when it comes to managing blood sugar naturally, one name keeps coming up again and again in medical journals and clinical discussions: magnesium. Now, here's the surprising part. Despite being one of the most studied minerals for glucose control, magnesium is nowhere to be found on the Gluco6 label. Not even a trace. And that's a red flag for anyone who's serious about improving insulin sensitivity, especially those over 50. Magnesium plays a vital role in how your body moves sugar from your blood into your cells. Without enough of it, your insulin has to work overtime. In fact, research shows that magnesium deficiency is common in people with type 2 diabetes, and that supplementing with it can improve both fasting glucose and A1C levels. We're not talking about a miracle cure, but we are talking about something with real, consistent data behind it. So why would Gluco6 skip it? Some speculate it's a cost issue. High-quality magnesium, especially forms like glycinate or citrate that absorb well, is more expensive to source and manufacture. Others say it's about shelf appeal. Bitter melon and cinnamon bark sound more natural remedy chic. Magnesium? It sounds like something from a multivitamin. Less exotic, less marketable. But for people in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, this isn't just about flashy ingredients. It's about function. Omitting magnesium could mean Gluco6 is missing one of the most critical pieces of the blood sugar puzzle. And even if the other ingredients do help a little, that missing link could explain why some users don't feel a difference, even after weeks of consistent use. So now the question isn't just, what does Gluco6 include? It's why leave out one of the most proven, accessible tools we have? And if something that important didn't make the cut, what else didn't? Because now, it's time to look at the people behind the curtain, the company itself. And that's where things get even more complicated. Number 5, who's really behind Gluco6? When you buy a supplement, you're not just buying ingredients. You're buying trust. Trust in the company. Trust in the process. Trust that the people behind the product care about your health. But when it comes to Gluco6, the truth gets a little fuzzy. Start with this. There's no major pharmaceutical or well-known natural health company backing Gluco6. Instead, it's produced by a lesser-known private label brand that markets dozens of supplements under different names. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it does raise a question. Who's holding them accountable? There's no clear clinical advisory board, no transparency about who formulates their products, no published partnerships with doctors or universities. In other words, you have no idea if the people designing Gluco6 actually specialize in endocrinology, geriatric health, or even nutrition. That's like buying a car with no information about the manufacturer and just trusting the ad that says it runs great. Even more concerning, limited contact information, vague refund policies, no live customer support. And when a health company keeps everything behind a curtain, it makes you wonder, are they truly invested in helping you, or just invested in your wallet? And remember, you're the one putting this into your body. So the more you know about the people behind it, the more empowered you are to make the right decision. Because up next, we'll go straight to the people who've already tried Gluco6, and not all of them have good news. Number 6, what real users are saying and not saying. When you scroll through reviews of Gluco6, the first thing you'll notice is how overwhelmingly positive they seem. 5-star ratings, glowing testimonials, people claiming they feel like themselves again. But if you dig just a little deeper, past the polished front page and sponsored ads, you start to find a very different kind of story. On independent forums and health discussion boards, the tone shifts. Some users report no noticeable change in their blood sugar, even after using Gluco6 for weeks. Others mention mild digestive issues, while a few note that the supplement felt like just another pill in a long list of things that didn't live up to the hype. The most revealing comments, though, are the ones that say nothing changed, and those are the hardest to hear. Because for older adults managing real blood sugar issues, time isn't just a luxury. It's a risk. Every day spent trying a supplement that doesn't work is a day where your health could be slipping, even if you don't feel it yet. And then there's this. Most of the verified reviews don't mention follow-ups. No long-term success stories. No updates after 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Just a burst of early enthusiasm, and then silence. It's not about blaming the users. It's about recognizing the pattern. When the majority of long-term feedback fades away, you have to ask, was the product never meant to deliver long-term results in the first place? Now that you've heard what they say, and what they don't, it's time to ask the big question. Is Gluco6 really helping, or just selling hope? Let's wrap it all up. At the end of the day, Gluco6 isn't the villain, but it may not be the hero either. It sells a story millions want to believe, but doesn't always deliver the full truth. You've earned the right to ask questions, to expect more, because your health isn't a sales pitch, it's your life. And the next time a shiny label promises everything, you'll know how to look past the hype and protect what really matters.